Have you ever wondered why your heart pounds when you're watching a horror movie, even though you know it's not real? Or why your palms get sweaty before a big presentation? What is this powerful, sometimes paralyzing emotion we call fear? Where does it even come from? Well, today we're going to dive deep into the fascinating origins of fear, from our ancient ancestors to the complexities of our modern brains. Stick around, because understanding fear is the first step to mastering it. Let's travel back in time, way back, to when our ancestors roamed the savannah. For them, the world was a very different place. Dangers were everywhere. A rustle in the grass could be a predator, a strange-looking berry could be poisonous, and a dark cave could be someone else's territory. In this environment, fear wasn't just an unpleasant feeling. It was a critical survival tool. It was the body's natural alarm system. This system is often called the fight-or-flight response. Imagine an early human spotting a saber-toothed cat. Instantly, a small almond-shaped part of their brain called the amygdala would fire up. The amygdala acts like a rapid response command center. It sends emergency signals throughout the body. The adrenal glands flood the system with hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. This causes the heart to beat faster, pumping more blood to the muscles. Breathing quickens to take in more oxygen. Senses become sharper. Pupils dilate to let in more light. And even digestion slows down to conserve energy. Every single one of these changes was designed for one purpose: survival. You're either going to fight that predator with all your strength, or you're going to run faster than you've ever run before. This reaction is incredibly fast and happens automatically, long before the conscious thinking part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, can even process what's happening. In a life or death situation, there's no time for deliberation. Hesitation could mean the difference between becoming dinner and living to see another day. So this ancient, hardwired fear response is a gift from our ancestors, a biological heirloom passed down through thousands of generations because it worked. It kept us alive. But here's the interesting part. We don't live on the savannah anymore. Most of us aren't facing saber-toothed cats on our way to get coffee. So why does this ancient system still get triggered so easily in our modern world? This is where the story of fear gets a little more complex. Our brains are brilliant, but they haven't fully updated their software for the 21st century. The same system that protected us from predators now reacts to modern stressors. An angry email from your boss, a looming deadline, a traffic jam, or even just the thought of public speaking. Your amygdala can't really tell the difference between a real, physical threat and a perceived psychological one. To your ancient brain, social rejection can feel as dangerous as being exiled from the tribe, which back then was a death sentence. That's why social anxiety is so powerful. That's why the fear of failure can feel so overwhelming. Your body is preparing you to fight or flee a threat that isn't physical, but emotional or social. The physical symptoms are the same: the racing heart, the sweaty palms, the shallow breathing. It's an ancient response to a modern problem. So we have this inherited biological fear, but that's only half the story. The other half is learned. Fear isn't just instinct, it's also a product of our experiences and our environment. This is where classical conditioning comes into play, something you might remember from psychology class with Pavlov's dogs. The same principle applies to fear. If you had a frightening experience, your brain creates a strong association. For example, if you were bitten by a dog as a child, your brain might learn to associate all dogs with danger. Now, every time you see a dog, even a friendly one, your amygdala might sound the alarm, triggering that fight or flight response. This learned fear can be incredibly specific. It's why some people are terrified of spiders, heights, or enclosed spaces. These are phobias, which are intense, irrational fears linked to a specific object or situation. Often these phobias can be traced back to a single negative experience, or even just from observing someone else's fear. If you grew up with a parent who was terrified of thunderstorms, you might develop that same fear, not through a direct negative experience, but by learning that thunderstorms are something to be afraid of. Our brains are excellent at making connections to protect us, even if those connections are sometimes illogical in our current reality. But what about the fears that seem completely made up? The fear of monsters under the bed, or the anxiety that comes from watching a scary movie. This is where the most evolved part of our brain, the neocortex, gets involved. This is our center for imagination, language, and conscious thought. We are the only species, as far as we know, that can scare ourselves with our own thoughts. We can imagine future scenarios that haven't happened and might never happen. We can worry about what if. What if I fail the exam? What if I say something stupid? What if I get sick? This ability to project into the future is incredible. It allows us to plan, create, and innovate, but it's also the source of what we call anxiety, which is essentially fear of the unknown, fear of the future. While our ancient brain reacts to clear and present danger, our modern brain can create danger out of thin air. We can get stuck in a loop of negative thoughts, triggering our fight or flight response over and over again, even when we're perfectly safe in our own homes. This is the paradox of the human mind. Our greatest strength, our imagination, can also be the source of our greatest suffering. So, to recap, the origin of fear is a three-part story. First, it's a biological instinct, a hardwired survival mechanism from our ancestors designed to protect us from physical harm. Second, it's a learned response shaped by our personal experiences and the associations our brain makes to keep us safe from repeating past dangers. And third, it's a cognitive creation, born from our unique ability to imagine and worry about the future. Understanding this doesn't magically make fear disappear, but it does give us power. When you feel that wave of anxiety or panic, you can take a step back and recognize what's happening. You can say to yourself, okay, this is my amygdala overreacting. This is my ancient brain trying to protect me from a saber-toothed cat that isn't here. By understanding the source, we can begin to separate the real threats from the perceived ones. We can use mindfulness and breathing techniques to calm our physiological response. We can challenge the negative thought patterns that our imaginative brains create. Fear is a fundamental part of the human experience. It's a sign that we're alive, that we care, and that our bodies are trying to protect us. It's not something to be eliminated, but something to be understood and navigated. By learning about its origins, we can start to change our relationship with it, transforming it from a master that controls us into a messenger that informs us.
Have you ever had that feeling, that knot in your stomach when you're about to do something new, something big? Maybe it's speaking in front of a crowd, starting a new project, or even just making a phone call you've been putting off. Your heart starts pounding, your palms get sweaty, and a little voice inside your head screams, "Don't do it. What if you fail? What if you look stupid?" We've all been there. That voice is the voice of fear. And today we're going to talk about how to have a conversation with that voice, understand it, and ultimately, move past it. Overcoming fear isn't about being fearless. It's about acting in spite of the fear, and I promise you, it's a skill you can learn. First things first, let's get one thing straight. Fear is not your enemy. It's actually a very old, very important survival mechanism. Think about our ancestors. Fear kept them from getting too close to a saber-toothed tiger or eating poisonous berries. It's an alarm system designed to keep us safe. The problem is, in our modern world, that alarm system can get a little overactive. It rings the bell not just for real dangers, but for perceived social or emotional dangers, like the fear of rejection, failure, or embarrassment. So, the first step in overcoming fear is to acknowledge it and thank it. When you feel that anxiety creeping in, don't fight it. Say to yourself, okay, I see you, fear. Thanks for trying to protect me. I understand you're just doing your job. This simple act of recognition can take away so much of its power. You're no longer wrestling with a monster in the dark. You're looking at an overrighteous security guard. This changes your relationship with fear from one of conflict to one of understanding. Once you've acknowledged the fear, the next step is to investigate it. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Peel back the layers. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, is it really about the speaking itself? Or is it a fear of being judged? A fear of forgetting your words? A fear of not being good enough? Get specific. Write it down. When you name your fear, you bring it out into the light. It's no longer a vague, terrifying shadow. It's a specific problem you can start to solve. If you're afraid of forgetting your words, you can make cue cards. If you're afraid of being judged, you can practice in front of a trusted friend first. Breaking down the big, scary monster of fear into smaller, manageable concerns is the key to creating an action plan. You can't fight a fog, but you can navigate a clear path once you know the obstacles. So, you've acknowledged the fear, and you've identified what's really going on. Now comes the most crucial part, taking small, deliberate action. This is where the magic happens. The antidote to fear is not courage, it's action. Courage is the result of taking action, not the prerequisite. You don't need to feel brave to start, you just need to start. And the key is to start small. Ridiculously small. If you're afraid of going to the gym, your first step is to sign up for a year-long membership and commit to 5 days a week. Your first step is to just put on your gym clothes. That's it. The next day, maybe you just drive to the gym and sit in the parking lot for 5 minutes. The day after that, you walk inside and ask for a tour. These are called micro steps. Each tiny victory builds momentum and rewires your brain. It proves to that inner alarm system that this threat is actually not a threat at all. You're building a new neural pathway, one of confidence and competence, one tiny step at a time. This process is called exposure therapy, and it's one of the most effective ways to desensitize yourself to a fear. You're gently teaching your nervous system that it's safe. As you start taking these small steps, it's vital to celebrate your progress. We are often so focused on the final destination that we forget to appreciate how far we've come. Did you make that phone call you were dreading? Awesome. Give yourself a little pat on the back. Did you post your first video even though you were terrified? Celebrate that. This isn't about being narcissistic. It's about positive reinforcement. You're training your brain to associate taking action even when scared with a positive reward. This creates a powerful feedback loop. The more you act and celebrate, the more you'll want to act in the future. Remember that the goal is not to eliminate fear completely. Fear will likely always be a co-pilot on your journey. The goal is to not let it have its hands on the steering wheel. You are the one driving. You get to decide the destination. Let's talk about a powerful mindset shift, viewing fear as a compass. Often, the things we fear the most are the very things that will lead to our greatest growth. That project you're scared to start. It's probably the one that will stretch your skills the most. That difficult conversation you're avoiding. It might be the one that deepens your relationship. Fear often points directly to our growth edge. Instead of seeing it as a stop sign, try seeing it as a signpost pointing toward an area where you have an opportunity to expand, to learn, and to become a stronger, more capable version of yourself. When you feel fear, instead of thinking, "Oh no, I should retreat," try asking, "What is this fear telling me I need to learn? What opportunity for growth is hiding behind this?" This reframe can transform fear from a paralyzing force into a motivating one. It becomes your guide to a more expansive and fulfilling life. And finally, remember, you don't have to do this alone. Share your fears with a trusted friend, a family member, or a mentor. Just saying it out loud can often shrink it down to size. Hearing someone else say, "Me too, I get scared of that too," is incredibly validating. It reminds us that we're all human, and fear is a shared human experience. And if your fear feels overwhelming, if it's causing significant distress or interfering with your daily life, please consider reaching out to a mental health professional. Therapists and counselors are trained to provide you with tools and strategies to manage anxiety and fear in a safe, supportive environment. Seeking help is a sign of incredible strength, not weakness. It's an investment in your well-being and your future. So, to recap, acknowledge your fear, don't fight it. Investigate it to understand what's really going on. Take ridiculously small steps to build momentum. Celebrate every single win, no matter how small. Reframe fear as a compass, pointing you toward growth. And finally, lean on your support system. Fear is a part of life, but it doesn't have to be the part that writes your story. You are the author. You get to decide what happens in the next chapter. Start today. Pick one small fear, and take one tiny step. You've got this. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future content. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments what one small step you're going to take this week. Sharing it can be a powerful act of accountability. Until next time, take care and be kind to yourself.